October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which makes it the perfect time to discuss an alarming trend. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought around a massive increase in domestic violence cases. And joining us now to discuss this from the Center for Community Solutions is CEO Verna Griffin-Tabor. Verna, it's so good to talk to you, and yet it's such a, disturbing trend that we're seeing right now with COVID.
Absolutely, Ginger, it is. We are originally, when COVID started happening with shelter in place, we actually saw a drop in calls in our hotline. But what has happened most recently and over the last few months, we've seen about a 64% increase in our domestic violence hotline for calls for help.
I mean, this number, 64%, folks, that's not, typically we kind of get a little anxious when we hear a 20% increase in something. 64%, that is frightening, quite honestly. What do you attribute this to? Obviously, staying at home, and unfortunately people are surrounded by the people that are putting them in danger.
Yes, and when shelter in place first happened and people were living with somebody who was harming them, there were very little options to seek help, to get out to the store or call somebody away from that person who's harming them. But as the restrictions have lifted, we feel like people have more access and less tolerance and really are reaching out for help. We've been concerned about this all along because we also know if somebody has the propensity for violence, that the financial and emotional stress can exacerbate that. And so that's what we feel like we're seeing.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because it's not just, the anger issues. There are other factors that are causing this spike in domestic violence cases. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. The loss of jobs, people being furloughed from their jobs, and the fear of health issues, those are exacerbating the violence that we're seeing. On our hotline, not only are we seeing an increase where we're having to staff up, so we make ourselves available when someone has the courage to call, but we're also seeing that the length of the calls and the need is more intense, because with the impact on our economy, less food, less access for transportation, no childcare, all those are making those people who are experiencing domestic violence in greater need. And so we're staffing up, and we're also spending a lot more time on those calls.
Let's talk about awareness. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I think it should be something we're aware of year-round. But how can we be aware for the signs that somebody is a victim of domestic violence?
Great question, Ginger. Yes, if you have a friend or a family member who you see is pulling back from the family, who seems more fearful, who has a partner who's watching their every move or questioning where they are, find a safe way to ask that person if they're being harmed, if they need help. And we want folks to know they can call our hotline or they can check our website. Our hotline is 888-DV-LINKS. Help is available. We see it every day. We see people rebuilding their lives. So this can be an intense thing to hear about, but we want folks to know help and hope are absolutely possible during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, as well as all year long.
I know so many people, men and women, they've got to be afraid of having that conversation. You're someone who has that conversation daily. What could you say to somebody to help them get over that fear and look to help somebody else?
Just imagine your family member needing help. You don't have to be a therapist. You do not have to be an expert to show compassion and say, I see that you're not coming out as much as you used to. I see something is bothering you. Is anyone harming you? Can I help you? We can get help. We'll do it slowly, and we'll do it together. It's more the compassion and believing somebody and not judging them. Statements like, why don't you just leave, will shut someone down in a heartbeat. But telling them that there's every reason to reach out, to get help, they deserve a better life for themselves. These kinds of statements give people hope.
There's a reason you have a 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline. It's because it's very common. People need to take that stigma away so they're not afraid to reach out and get some help. Verna, you and your team are doing wonderful work. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll see these trends curb soon.
Absolutely. And with your messaging really helps get out to people to be aware and also that they can get help.
Yes, they can. All right. Thank you, my friend. Be well.
All right. You too.